Hello and welcome to another episode of Are You Not Entertained? We were cut short last time. Well, cut short by ourselves because we're so in depth with our analysis. We went for too long because we know so much about Tottenham Football Club. Well, in our humble opinions. So we're going to get straight into it. We're still doing the player rating. We're moving into the midfield. And Pete, I'll pass it over to you.
Let's start with, off the top of my head, Harry Winks. I gave him a 7. I just like him. I know I didn't really realise until we started our Twitter how much he divides Spurs fans. I just assumed, because I mostly talked to you two about Spurs and we all like him, I mostly assumed everyone likes him, but he really does split opinion. And I know you can argue that he is a bit sideways and can be a bit passive, but I just think he keeps us ticking. I like him in there in the middle. I think he's solid. He wins a bit of ball, but not as much as you'd like him to if he's going to sit in front of the back four. And I tell you what, he's decent at breaking the press sometimes as well. He gets out of spaces that you don't expect him to. But yeah, I just thought he had another solid year. 7 for me. Holes?
I went for a 6 for Winksy this year. Again, I thought he had a very, very solid season. There wasn't anything super outstanding that he did that I can think of. I think he's a great option for us as part of a squad. Potentially, he's not the player that you'd pick to sort of be part of a title charge in midfield. If that's what we're aiming for next season, even top 4. I think he's maybe potentially not a starter. I think he's a very good player. I think he's fantastic for a squad to have. He's homegrown, which is awesome for us. So that keeps the quota for the whole squad, which is great. Yeah, I do really like Winksy, don't get me wrong. I think potentially with a defensive player behind him, he might be able to be a bit more expressive in his attacking play and stuff like that. But being asked to be that sort of the holding midfielder, towards the end of the season, I think that's where he primarily played. I think it was I'm not sure we lost the game and then which he played after lockdown. I think maybe must have been before the Sheffield United game. But yeah, I think he's a solid player, and obviously wouldn't want to get rid of him at all. But I don't think he's sort of your first name on the team sheet type of player, and I think he's potentially replaceable in the starting 11, but not in the squad. Very important squad player for me. But a 6.
I think that's fair. Cheers.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of things that have been said. He does divide opinion, like you say, because fans either take him as a sort of metronome, just keeping it going in the middle of the park, and they're happy for him to go side to side, and do see that he does some penetrative pass. I think if you're a fan of Winks, you say, well, yeah, he has got that pass that he can bend over the top that sometimes he'll use to break the lines. And if you're not a fan of Winks, you'll say never, ever tries to play forward. And all he does is move side to side. And you just see what you see because you have it in your head that way that you're so upset with him or you're so happy with him. But I was leaning towards a 6, but I did end up giving him a 7. Reason being because I think when he has played post-lockdown, his defensive side of the game has been really improved by Mourinho, winning a lot more ball and actually doing things that could be seen as that defensive midfielder. But yeah, I kind of liken him to Ben Davies this season. I gave Ben Davies a 7 as well because I think he just does the job he's told to do. He's also had a couple of superb moments in the season. Probably the big one when he got someone sent off against City, which is an exciting moment. But you could also get upset with him for that because it was one of the few times you've seen him actually burst forward and show a turn of pace and sort of Lo Celso forward-thinking movement. But yeah, I went for a 7 because I thought if I give Ben Davies a 7, I'd probably, in my mind, give Winks a 7 as well.
That is fair, I'd suggest.
Right, let's go Sissoko then. I have given him a 6. Sissoko, for me, is very much like Serge Aurier in that I don't think he's a very good footballer. He's pure athlete, isn't he? He's like, his pace and his strength and his power, but given time on the ball, he just divers and he makes you panic. And you just want to see him bursting away from people and then just give it to someone better. He's almost on that scale of where I go, you had a good season for you. Do you know what I mean? Like you're on the Sissoko scale. You're not on every other footballer scale. So I could have given him a 7. I don't think he's been any worse than Winks for himself. It's just I don't like him on the ball, and it really frustrates me. I don't like that kind of player. I much prefer a technical player over an athlete, to be honest. So yeah, I gave him a 6. Jez, we'll go to you this time. Make it fair.
It's throwing us all out of whack, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I give Sissoko a 6 as well. Again, I could have easily given him a 7. I could have given him a 6. So kind of leaning one way or another. For Winks, maybe because I like a passing centre mid, I lean towards a 7. For Sissoko, I went towards 6. But it could have been either or, genuinely, because there have been times when he's been so important. There have definitely been games where he hasn't played and you thought, Christ, we could have done with Sissoko in the centre of the park today, just for his energy and the fact that he actually can be physical and win the ball back. But like you say, if you find your centre mid of Sissoko anywhere near the opponent's box, I can remember him running through against Liverpool, I think, and he was never ever going to shoot, to the point where Van Dijk didn't even bother to close him, and he just stood in the middle and waited for him to try and pass it to Sonny, I think. Which is
Was that when we lost 2-1?
Yeah, and we could have won it with that, wasn't it? If he had any quality, and if Van Dijk thought he had any quality, we would have scored in that counter-attack, because either he would have had to close him or he'd have had to mark the other one, and Sissoko scores or Son scores. But because it was so painfully obvious that the confidence to score, it was like, no, it was ridiculous. You had a 2-on-1 situation where you didn't back it to go anywhere, and Van Dijk, like, credit to him, he just went, well, I know exactly what's happening here. So I think it'd be tragic if he's starting. We're needing to start him next season. Hopefully, it looks like we're going to have Højbjerg, which seems like it's nearly over the line. And then, fingers crossed, we see a Lo Celso and Ndombele in front of him, because that could be quality. And then you kind of Winks and Sissoko are squad players, and very good squad players at that. Actually, if they're bench players, then you're happy. If they're starters, then you're a bit concerned. But yeah, I gave him a 6.
Yeah, I went for a 6 also. Much the same reasons as you boys have said, really. He's a fascinating player, Sissoko, because I don't really know where you put him within midfield. He's not a defence midfielder. He's certainly not an attacking midfielder. I think he's a proper box-to-box. I think that's, if he's too close to your goal, you get concerned. He's close to the opposition's goal, you're also concerned. So he's quite literally a midfield player only. But he does do some really good work for the team, and you can't fault him on that. I think he knows where his strength lies. Mourinho knows they lie as well, and he just lets him go about and do his business. I mean, playing as sort of with interchange with Winksy, is that sort of the deeper player. In terms of the defensive output, he covers Aurier, he covers Davies, whoever it is that bombs on, he's there. So fair play to him for doing that, because he's got an absolute engine on him. Again, much like I said with Winks, and you boys have said as well, like, he's not a starter, but he's an important squad player. He's a player, 1-0 up, 2-0 up, you're going to bring on to just shut things down and just chase people around, which is ideal, really. And again, like I say, with our squad as well, we're a couple of players away from having a great squad. You mentioned Højbjerg there, Jez, and I think he potentially could be a really good holding midfielder for us. Or another, I don't really care who they get. We just need a holding midfielder who can actually defend and sit, and offload the ball to someone else. But like for Sissoko, he's a 6, and it's pretty bang on. He's always a 6 though, which is a credit to him. Their players who go up and down, he's always a 6 or a 7. Doesn't matter what he's doing. We could lose 4-0, he's still a 6.
Yeah. Great credit to the man for constantly being a 6. Let's go with Delhi. One of you two want to go first? Ols, do you want to go first on Delhi?
I'll go first on Delhi. Delhi's a difficult one for me because, again, much like Eric Dyer from the last one, before Mourinho, you wouldn't want him near the team. I thought he was dreadful. Under Mourinho, he's been a bit better, but he's still not got a position. And for that, I'm going to have to give him a 6. He did score quite a few goals and a couple of assists, but I don't know what position he plays. I think he reminds me of Thomas Müller in that he doesn't have a position, and he's sort of like a shadow striker, maybe. He's not creative enough to be number 10. He can't pass well enough. He can't dribble well enough. He can't hold the ball up well enough to be a striker. So the season where, is it his first season, or second season, where he was just smashing goals in, just playing off Kane, it was phenomenal. Kane ran one way, he'd go the other, or whatever. He played off him brilliantly. But since then, he's been trying to play him as a proper attacking midfielder or it's part of midfield 3 or whatever. And I just don't see where he fits. Again, much like the other two, really. He's not, for me, he's not a starter for a top 4 team. I think, again, he's a great impact sub. You bring him on. People are concerned about his sort of off the ball runs and whatnot, which are phenomenal. But yeah, I don't necessarily see where he fits into the sort of, particularly the Mourinho teams, where he's tends to be sort of 4-2-3-1, and that the middle is a proper creative attack midfielder who creates all the chances. And I don't think he's not that player. So yeah, 6 for me, but could be higher, could be lower. Difficult one really for me.
Cheers, do you want to go?
I'll give him a 5. A bit of a gripe against it. I mean, that's not true. I really like Derry. I love him as a character, and I like him so much that I just want him to be wicked at football. He has obviously had those moments where, and his stats are fantastic, but I really struggle to watch an attacking midfielder or a shadow striker, however you want to call him, who cannot pass the ball. And he does get assists, but he is not able to. He's not creative enough. He's not intelligent enough in the high speed. He's intelligent in terms of his ghost runs and his runs off the ball. He's probably one of the best in the world. But in terms of reading the picture when he's on the ball, he doesn't have it. And I struggle to watch an attacking midfielder who slows the game down quite as much as him, but without then pulling off some kind of assist. Like Ozil might slow it up, but when he was fantastic, he would have made something happen. Dele doesn't seem to do that. I gave him a 5. I just found him so frustrating this season. Found myself just irritated by most of the things he'd done on the pitch. And admittedly, sometimes he was played deeper, had to struggle out of position. But when he wasn't attacking midfield, I still found him frustrating. So, yeah, I gave him a 5. But I do echo what Ollie says. I think he's a fantastic substitute to bring on in a game where you might need a goal. I think he's quite perfect for Jose. And in a sad way, could almost become a bit of a Fellaini for him. The way he did that.
Ultimate insult.
Yeah, different, but could find himself popping up with a headed goal. Or not just solely to be up there for the lump, but to actually come
what expression.
Just bring something different. But I gave him a 5 because I'm just frustrated with him, to be honest. And I actually think we should have sold him, if not last season, potentially even the season before, because I just think you can read that he's not the footballer that can take you any higher than where we've got, or the attacking midfielder that can do that. So I think we should have cashed in, and I think we've made a mistake.
Interesting. Well, true to form, boys. Ollie's gone higher, Jerry's gone down the middle, and I've gone for a 4. I just think, I echo what you were saying about just found him so frustrating to watch. And I don't know what, you said he can't pass. Other than making late runs, I don't actually know what he's good at, because he doesn't strike the ball particularly well. He can't pass, like you said. I think 2 things have really frustrated me with him this year. One, I think he's too worried about his own brand. He's almost gone off the boil in football terms. I feel like he's more worried about the other side of being famous. Like, he doesn't get down and do the nitty-gritty football stuff anymore. The other thing I worry with him is I think he might have been found out. I think potentially people have not seen him before. When he burst onto the scene, he's come from League One. No one's really seen him. And he's made these fantastic late runs and scored a lot of goals. And then he's been in the Premier League a couple of years, and people have kind of found him out and realised, well, actually, you're not that good on the ball. So we're happy to let you have it there. And we'll marshal you when you make runs. We'll just keep an eye out for that. I want him to come good, like you said, Jez. I really, really want him to come good. But people questioning like Tangai's personality traits and whether he's got it in him. I wonder if Dele's similar. I don't know. I hope he is. I hope he comes back next season and he starts banging again. And I also don't think he'll be happy to sit on the bench, to be honest. I don't think he's one that will... I know I say his personality, he might not want to graft to get back, but he certainly won't take sitting on the bench for Spurs. Because in his head, he'll be able to go and play for one of the other top teams in the country. I saw him do an interview on YouTube once, and he moaned about his long passing ability on FIFA. It was like, it's disgusting. It's way too low. And I was thinking, it's too high. It's like, you've been overrated. So maybe it's harsh, but like I say, I do like him and I want him to come good, but we'll see.
What hat are you wearing, out of interest?
Dele Alli hat. Just in case you were wondering.
We do love you, Dele, really, but please just be better.
I've bought into his bloody brand. Pisses me
You
off.
can't buy them anymore, by the way. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, because I think it went out of business.
Really?
But there we go. So we've got 2 left. Would you like to go Gio or Tanguy first?
Put Gio first.
Gio? Cool. I'll go with Gio then. Another one similar to Tanganga, I thought was a real bright spark in a dog dirt season. I gave him an 8. I've enjoyed watching him play. Apart from when Mourinho stuck him out wide a few times, and everyone for the world could see he's not a winger. That's not where he wants to be. But when he played, he makes things happen. He beats people, and he's just exciting to watch. And again, left-footed. I don't know if there's something in it, but I really like watching a left footer. But yeah, I just thought he was class. I give him an 8. I thought he was fantastic. He made a real difference. And when he was out for a bit of injuries, I almost didn't want to watch us play. Because there was nothing going on in that team at the time apart from him. And when he was out with a knock, I was thinking, without Gio, there's no bright spark. I don't see where we get anything from here. So yeah, I think he's been brilliant. Jez?
Yeah, I went for an 8. In terms of like how most of the team have played, if you was doing it like 10 is the best player, you could have maybe gone higher because there's a few that have actually played well. But I didn't want to go mad like some Spurs fans are and almost blowing their load before he even had a goal or assist in the league. Everyone was like hailing him as the best player we've ever had, which is, to be honest, like you know, like people talk about small club mentality, and we get kind of the mick taken out of us a bit for overhyping players. I think for that, but Gio is fantastic, and with the fear of overhyping him. When I watched him in the few games where he finally, like you say, got put back into holding midfield instead of playing out wide, the first few games I watched him, I likened him to Luka Modric when he was with us. Like picking the ball and carrying us forward and having that creative spark, but also a bit of tenacity where he will just knock into a challenge. I do love South Americans for that. They normally have quality, but they're also not nearly always extremely hard working. So yeah, Gio was an 8 for me because I didn't want to go too mad, but I do want to praise him heavily because he's been awesome and, like you say, just genuinely really great to watch. Hopefully next season he's allowed to be even freer, with, like we say, perhaps Højbjerg behind him, and he can get more assists, get more goals, because I do think he's got it in him. Definitely, just at the moment he's kind of carrying it on his own. So if he's allowed to do that more and start higher, I think we'll see even more from him.
Yeah, I've also gone for an 8 for Gio. I think he's certainly been one of our better players this season. There haven't been many, but he's been one of them definitely. And as Pete says, like when he's not there, you look at the team and you just think there's no creativity here whatsoever. But with him in there, you definitely have a lot more hope that he's going to do something or be part of something. And much like, Luka Modric is the player you could sort of think of. He doesn't necessarily get an assist, but he gets like the assist. Yeah. So he'll make the pass that might break the line or whatever, and that's what makes a difference. And assists in general is a terrible stat because you could miss-kick it to somebody and then they put it top bins and you get an assist. But anyway, I'm not going to argue about the assists and stuff. But we saw it. We saw it with Real Betis, I think it was before, and he got 12 goals, was it 15 goals, something like that. So he's got the ability, no doubt whatsoever. And I think Mourinho really likes him because he can be that sort of tenacious number 10, but he can also be that very sort of solid number 8 as well. So with that person behind him, he's fantastic. You can always argue he's the player we thought Lamela might be, in terms of coming in and actually being that. He's got the technique, he's tenacious, and he's got the huge amount of potential with him as well. I think he's only 24, so he's got the best years to come with him. So I'm delighted we got him in the end. And I think he's going to be a great player for us in the future. But this season an 8, and next season is hopefully more.
Nice. Right, let's finish with Tanguy then. Who wants to go first on Tanguy, Jez?
Yeah, I'll go then. I really like Tanguy, and I think to the point where I almost found myself a bit of an emotional connection to him. Because I just struggled with the whole saga with, I thought when Mourinho knocked on his house and got him to go for a run, I didn't think that was impressive Mourinho. I thought that was like work harassment. Almost like bullying to an
I
extent.
imagine it was the first time he'd run all summer, though.
You don't know. See, this again, look at the naysayers. Like I say, Pete, you go on social media. I do think it slightly leans toward Tangai's favour, but there are also a lot of fans who are more than happy for him to go. Big rumours at the minute, whether or not he will. It's so hard to rate him, though, because when I've seen him on the pitch, and the only game I think I actually missed was that Burnley one where he got absolutely slayed. I said how lazy he was, and I watched clips of it. But sometimes, I mean, people might want to hear this, but sometimes I've watched clips of, or games I've watched with Moussa Dembele in, where Moussa looks super lazy. But then he'll pick up the ball on the edge of the box, beat 3 men and get us into a counter-attack, and you actually absolutely forgive him. Not saying most of the time he was. I'm saying there were games when I saw him do that, when I saw him just switch off and not be too bothered about the defensive side of it. Now, maybe Tanguy has got a bad attitude and maybe he's not working hard enough in training, but to me, it just stinks of the Paul Pogba saga, or even when Mourinho decided he didn't like Juan Mata when the season before that, I think Juan Mata got Player of the Year. And you just think, why, you're world-class manager, why can't you motivate these guys? So I put that down to the gaffer to be able to do it. Like, Harry Redknapp wasn't necessarily a tactician, but he can motivate anyone. You put anyone in this team, he will play for it. But hopefully, I mean, I've read some reports that bringing in the holding midfielder like Højbjerg is his plan to then free Tanguy up so that he has a bit of freedom to move forward with the ball and be able to play. But in terms of a rating, I think it's impossible to give him a good one. So I'd probably have to give him like a 4. But I don't necessarily blame him completely for that.
I think that's fair. Holes?
Yeah. I had to give him a 4 as well. Unfortunately, when you come in to a team, record transfer, huge hype, like he's got all the talent in the world to be the best, one of the best midfielders in the world. Like there's no doubt about that whatsoever. For I don't know, quite a big guy, you could say, he's so agile and so fast on the ball. Like he gets up and just sort of jinks around plays. It's unbelievable. Like his feet are phenomenal, and he's very much like Moussa Dembele as well. With that, but he's got the unfortunate languid style that you've got from Yaya Toure, Mesut Ozil, all those players that were always called lazy, even if they weren't. They were always called lazy, and I don't know how he's going to shake it because he doesn't. Those players don't have it in them to not be like that. That's how they are. They've played football for 25 years, whatever it is. They're not going to change how they run or whatever. That's just how they are. I have a big problem with players if they don't commit in training. I think that's a joke. Like that's playing football on a Saturday or Sunday is the reward for training. So if you're not playing well in training, why you shouldn't be playing? Simple. So if that is the case, then he's got nowhere to hide for me. If it's a case of the manager hasn't fancied him, then you've got to try and prove him wrong somehow, or leave. Which I hope that doesn't happen because I think if he were to leave, we all know for a fact he's going to go and be a world beater, and we're going to look stupid. We'll end up some crap centre back or something instead. But yeah, in terms of hype, I was so excited when we got him. We thought this was going to be, the Dembele replacement and whatnot, and he's just not lived up to it at all. I don't think it's entirely his fault, as I said. We unfortunately aren't privy enough to see what happens behind closed doors. We might see someone on the Amazon documentary, I don't know, that everyone goes, yeah, well, fair play, you don't deserve to play or whatever. But
that's true.
I think there's I read a lot of things about sort of his camp around him, and his agents are very quick to release stuff in the press, and that's mental. Like that's such a stupid thing to do for me. I wouldn't, if that was me and my agent was doing that, I'd have to go elsewhere because that's going to ruin your chances. Because managers like Mourinho, they demand that you are 110% in training every day, and if you're not, and then you start talking shit and whatnot on Twitter and Facebook, and your agent's leaking stuff, then you shouldn't be playing. As simple as that. Like, that's a ridiculous attitude to have. I hope that isn't the case. I don't think it is the case, but it's quite telling that he doesn't post anything about Spurs on his Instagram or whatnot. Does he ever? When initially he did, I think he's disabled all his comments and stuff like that. So. For the simple fact that he's just not been the player he thought he was, he's a 4. And when you compare him to Lo Celso, who, when Mourinho came in, didn't fancy him, he said that he doesn't fancy him, he just hadn't seen him play. and he absolutely bossed it. He was playing at the right, the left, whatever, and he made Mourinho play him in the middle, and he's not looked back, which is what you'd want from all your signings, all your players. So I don't know, Tanga. I really, really want him to be good. I hope we don't sell him. I don't think we will sell him, but I don't know. The player that we bought is not the same one that it was at Leon, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've gone low as well. I've gone 5, slightly higher. I really hope we don't sell him. I just think I agree with you, Oz. We'll never know. We won't ever find out if it's the way he's not training in or not training well enough, or if it's just Mourinho doesn't fancy him. But after seeing what happened with Pogba, I just wonder if it's that type of player. You know, Mourinho wants him to do the fundamentals of football and be solid, and he wants to express himself on the football pitch. And I understand both sides of it. I completely get it. Like from him as a manager, he's thinking we need to win games. This is how I win games, and I need my players to be solid and do the hard graft. And then that allows you then to go and do the flair stuff. Whereas he will do the flair stuff in front of his own box, and he gets like happy and flicky and turns people. And we want to see that, as he is. For me, he's a Spurs player. He's a type of Spurs player. He's that exciting, plays football in the exciting way that we should play. And that was one of the things when we talked about Mourinho coming in. I think we mentioned, like, does his style fit our club? And that will be interesting to see how that goes next year. But yeah, I'm desperate for him to come good. I've seen a lot of people tweeting stuff saying they can't wait to see like Højbjerg, Lo Celso and Tanguy players are free. And I'm just, at a minute, I hope I prove to be wrong, but I just don't see him ever going like that for now. It'll, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I've gone for a 5. Please come good, Tanguy. Please.
It's interesting, Pete. So again, I'm not interrupting you. I'm just adding to your point. I saw some like tactical breakdown this afternoon about how we sort of changed our formation after the Sheffield United game. And we did play a 4-3-3 quite a lot, with that holding player dropping back into the back 2 and everyone pushing around. Which, if you've got the choice of Ndombele or Sissoko to be that third centre mid, you'd hope it'd be Ndombele, but we'll see.
Right, on to the wingers then, boys.
We're not going to talk about Jedson.
No. If there's time, we'll talk about Jedson. I don't know how many. I'd like to see how many minutes he's had this year.
And Skippy?
Games, isn't it?
Skippy, if there's time, we can go back to Skippy.
Oh,
I think
fine,
he's not another one who's not had enough minutes really.
Okay, fair enough.
Sonny, let's start with Sonny. Clean sweep in the club awards, didn't he? Basically won everything. I'll give him a 7. I thought he was. Yeah, I'll give him a 7. I thought he was solid. I thought he was good before lockdown. When we come back from lockdown, I know he picked up a few goals, but he just looked a shadow of himself. He didn't want to take people on. He didn't want to beat his man and do what he normally does. When he shuffles the shoulder, goes the other way, hits it with his left foot. He just didn't look like he wanted to do it. And that is probably a harsh rating for him, but maybe I'm going off a short memory, but I just remember being really frustrated with him a lot of the time. And then I know he scored that ridiculous goal against Burnley, and that is one of the best goals I've ever seen for Spurs. But yeah, as an overall season, I couldn't go higher. I don't think he was better than Gio. So I don't think he was as good as Gio. So I couldn't give him an 8. So I went 7. Oz?
I've given Son my highest rating on 8.5.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing 0.5s.
Well, I couldn't give him a 9 because he wasn't that good, but he's been our best player, so I had to have a 0.5 to clarify that fact. Stat-wise, he's been our best player. Most goals, most assists. Well, it's a combined thing. And I think he's been proper clutch for us. He's come up trumps massively of goals and stuff when we needed them. Even when he's not playing well, broken arm, he carried, fair play to playing that game. And when H seems to get injured, as he tends to do every year, he steps up and does the business again. So I love him to pieces. Maybe that clouds my judgment, but you're definitely right. In post-lockdown, he's not been as good for sure, 100%. But pre-lockdown, under Poch, under Mourinho, he was our best player. So for the whole season, it has to be Son at 8.5 for me.
Do you know what else you've sold me? I bumped him up to an 8. You sold me on him.
No, I had your opinion, Pete. You cannot change it.
Of course I can. You've sold me. You spoke so positively. I bumped up to an 8. Jez, what did you go for?
Yeah, I also went for an 8.
6.
I gave him an 8. And if I had known they were 0.5s, I might have given him an 8.5. It's an interesting one because the only reason I gave him an 8 is because I also gave Lo Celso an 8. And Lo Celso got an 8 because it's his first season. And because he seemed to be doing like two men's job in the midfield. Sonny, in his own quality, like we were talking about the other day, even though his stats are the highest he's ever had, it's probably one of his worst seasons, or one of and saying that is not a harsh thing because he's not bad. He's just not been as good as he can be. I do think it's like a bit of short-term memory that I think about the post-lockdown mainly. And from lockdown, despite grabbing a few goals and still getting some assists, looked scared to beat a man, wasn't really behind. If he tried to do a step over, he often got stuck under his feet. He was quite ugly to watch, actually, and frustrating because of a player who is fantastic at dribbling, like the Burnley guy you say is a prime example, really dribbling at pace. And yeah, just seemed to lack a bit of quality. But he was pre-lockdown pretty good, not as good as he can be still, but our best player, definitely. The one that's kind of dragging us through some games, but we had a bad season. There's no hiding from that. Part of that is because he wasn't great either. But yeah, I'd give him an 8, and he would have been my player of the season as well. Yeah,
I think that's testament to him, though. To be fair, like how good he is even with a season where we're all basically in agreement that it's not been his best year in terms of performances. Maybe not in stats, but performances, and he's still getting 8s across the board.
Well, he set the bar
7
high,
in
isn't
sight. Yeah, he has. Right, another new boy, Stevie. What are we going for Stevie? I was going to go first again.
I gave Stevie a 7. I think, 7. Good. I love him. I think he's a great player. I think he should be our starting winger going forward, or one of the starting wingers going forward. I think he's the most creative winger we've got in terms of creating chances for others, that sort of thing. I think he's pretty two-footed from what I've seen. He's quick, he's strong, and he can shoot. He'll take people on. So for me, I think he's going to be an awesome player for us. And a very good buy for 27 million, whatever it was, particularly when you see the sort of money that gets banded around for wingers and stuff now. I think he's been great for us. I think he's got the right mentality, the right attitude. He's young, he's hungry. So, but just for this season, it has to be a 7 because he's got a couple of really good goals. Took his finishes really well. Like to score like that on your debut, chest and volley, fair place. That to me says a lot about a player. He's confident, so I love him. I think he's great. And just for this, I hope the next season he's going to go on and be our best players. But this season alone, half a season, 7 for me.
Yeah, I went 7 as well. I think he's had a real solid start. I do think he's got a job on his hands to try and convince Mourinho that he should start ahead of Moura, because Mourinho, for whatever reason, has come in and gone, I love Moura, I like what he does. But he's not one where you worry about his attitude for him to do that. I don't look at him. I think I saw on his Instagram, the other day, he'd gone back and he's gone back home or on holiday or whatever, and the first day he was out for a run. And I think that's you just know for sure there's no way Tanguy did that first day of his holiday, as much as I'd love him to. Like you say, he scored some big goals for us, like the one against City, scored against United. So he picked up a few big performances. And I do agree, actually. I think he is probably the most creative out of the four. Actually, I've got Lamela down actually as a winger, so maybe not. But he's got everything he needs to be a really good winger for us and be a good player in the Premier League. I think he suits the Premier League. He shouldn't. I think he stayed in the Dutch league maybe a year too long. I think he could have come out because he's strong. He's quite well built, isn't he? He's quick and like I say, he's got 2 good feet. Yeah, I hope he kicks on. 7 for me. Jez, I got bored of my own talking then. Sorry, Jez, you go.
That's all right. I went for a 7 as well. We only come in January, but whenever I've watched him play, I've been really impressed with him. I can't just echo what you boys say. I think if you're playing 4-3-3, he should be playing instead of Mora.
Mhm.
Because then you're meant to be more attacking. You're meant to be in a position where you're going to create and score goals. And although Mora grabbed a couple at the end of the season, let's be honest, he doesn't really do that, apart from on special occasions every now and then. But if we're playing 4-4-2, then I might lean towards Mora. Would be a sort of the way my brain was thinking. But yeah, I just went for a 7.
Bless you.
Fine.
Bless you, sir.
Bless you, Stevie.
Should we take a pause there, boys, just for a minute?